So imagine this. A customer fills out a form asking for an installation, and your sales team doesn't see it until the next day. What could happen is that customer could go to another company who responds quicker, and that other company gets the sale. So that's money left on the table for you. So let me show you how you can fix that using n8n for an automation. So you'll want to go to n8n and you're going to want to create an account and log in. Once you're there, you'll see this screen here and you're going to want to be under workflows. Then you'll click create workflow and you'll see this. It'll be pretty much blank here. This area is called the canvas. And this is just where you can add all of your nodes where you're going to be able to connect different applications to create an automation. So you'll click this plus sign here. On the right, you're going to see what triggers this workflow. And then there's a ton of different options. So you can go under any of these and see what's there. Okay. And it'll pull up a screen like this. So with the one that I created, if we look at the canvas, I did one for trigger is on a form submission. Now, when you click in here, there's a few fields you're going to want to fill out. So you're going to want to give it a title, and then you're going to want to give it a description. This is what the potential customer will see. So fill out this form to request an installation. We'll reach out via email to finalize your appointment. And what do you want on the form? These are the different form elements. So the great thing about a tool like n8n or even make.com is you have these low code or even no code tools that let you create, or even hook up different applications. And with n8n in particular, you can get a little bit more granular. So if you have, kind of a technical background or even a coding background, that'll definitely help here. So you'll want to have these form elements. These are just examples, but you could use email address as the name. And then the element type, you want to actually choose email. Now, you could have other ones, but the reason for this is just if you know about HTML forms, you can have validation. So this is just going to make sure that whatever the user types is in the correct format. And you can even put a placeholder if you want. And for something like this, I would mark it as a required field. And then you can have another field called preferred install date. And this one is going to be a element type of date. So it's going to be a date time object. And then for respond when, it should be when the form is submitted. So what you can do is when you click execute step, it'll bring up a dialog of a form, and you can just put in some test data. So I did this, and you'll see basically for those two fields, this is what I put in. And one tip here is this is going to save you a ton of time. So you'll see this little button here for pin. Okay. So let's just put in something here. I'll just show you on the screen. So let's say this person wants to test this like 2 days out from now. They submit, great. Okay, so the form was submitted, we can close this. This button here in the top right is pin data. So what it's going to do basically is if you have test data that you want to use over and over again, then you can click this button and you won't have to type it out every single time. So if you're doing a lot of tests, if you have, maybe someone's in your QA department who's making sure all of this is good before it goes to production, this could help out with that. Now, with this form, it only has a couple of fields, so it's not a big deal. But if you had a more complex form, this is really going to save you. So all you got to do is click that there, and it says this data is pinned for test execution. So we can go back to the canvas here. And then whenever you have added a node, you can connect other nodes by hitting this plus button. So you'll see this plus on the end, and it's going to say what happens next. And then, similar type of thing here, you can click through and select something, or you could also just, if you know the name of it already, yeah, I want to do like an if conditional, you can type that. Or if you want to do something with a Google app, you can type Google and then click Google Sheets, et cetera, et cetera. So you're going to add this if node. And if we look inside of here, on the left side, you can see there's all of these possible variable types. You're also going to see this is the test data that we pinned, so you can see basically what the output would be for that. But all you have to do is click and drag and drop into here, and it's going to show this. Basically, this is JSON data, and it's just going to show the variable here. So basically, all this is saying is the condition is if the data is a preferred install date that is before or equal to 7 days from now, then we're going to want to go to the next step. So I'm just going to show you a couple more things while we're here. This is optional, but I added this afterwards. If you see this dot or this period, basically in programming, when you see something like a period and then you see some characters and then you see this, okay, that's a method. So basically what it's saying is everything before, this period, we want to take that object or that data and run this method or this operation on it. And what this one is doing is it's simply, if you hover over it here, it'll give you the definition. It's converting whatever the data was here. Like if this happened to be a string, you want to make sure the data type is actually a date time object, because when you do some kind of comparison, like saying, oh, is this a value equal to this other thing, or is it less than this? It has to be in the same data type. So that's very important. So we just add this for robustness. And then you click down here. So what I had selected is, again, since this was specifically a date and time object, you're going to want to hover over that, and then you select is before or equal to. If this was not a date time, then, if it was characters, you'd select string. These are all different data types. Okay. If there's a number, you'd select number, etc. And then over here, so this is basically just more JSON data. You're saying is a date time of now. So it's going to calculate that, and then we added this method, the plus. Okay. Again, if you hover over it, it'll tell you what the definition is, what the parameters are. These items in between the parentheses, these are the parameters. So these are what are being sent into that method. So you'll see n, which is just the amount 7, and then the unit. So the unit specifically is days, and then you can see an example down here, and that's all you need for that. Now you can click execute step for any of these. It's going to run the node. Okay, I already executed this, but I definitely would recommend that you do that when you're setting this up. So we can click back to Canvas. Well, when you click the plus sign again, you can add a node based off of this. So since this is a conditional, it's either going to be true or false. So for the false, we'll just set a placeholder for now, and you can use this for later if you want to. But for right now, we're going to set up the true condition. So for true, I selected Slack. So if you type in Slack and then you click this, then you'll see there's all of these different actions you can do in Slack. Like, do you want to create a channel when this happens, et cetera, et cetera. I chose send a message. Okay, because what we want is when the user fills out a form and when that has been within 7 days, we want to send a message to the channel in Slack. By the way, this is just going to say if, but I changed the name to is within 7 days. So I changed it to whatever the positive or the true condition would be. So is it within 7 days? If that's true, then let's send a message to the Slack channel. So let's take a look at this. Over here, these are all the parameters. First thing you're going to want to do is connect your Slack channel. So you'll click in here. If you don't have anything, you click create new credential. I did it with OAuth, so it's very simple. After that, what's the resource? A message. But these are, there's other options here. You could have a file potentially, or any of these others. But for now, what we want to do is we want to send. So the operation is send the resources message, send a message, and where we want to send it to a channel, not to a specific user, because we want this to go to everybody that's in the sales channel. Okay. And then channel, you can do from list is easiest, but you can also do ID, etc. if you prefer that. So you'll see, since when you have the connection, you're going to see the channels here. I clicked sales. Message type, it's a simple text message, but again, there's other options here if you want to get more complex. You can even have attachments. So here, I just typed this in, right? So you can type whatever you want here. So I said new install request within 7 days, contact email. And then if you click that, you're going to see these options over here on the left. And then again, you can drag and drop from over here, right, into here. So this is going to pull that dynamic data from whatever the user filled in. So contact email is going to put that, preferred install date, it's going to put the data for that. You can see example here based on the test data we already filled. And then you can do execute step. So if you look right now, I had already run some tests. This is the sales channel inside of the test Slack that I created. So if we click this, you can see node executed successfully. Okay, go back here. And then if you go here, you'll see this is the time right now, 9:38 p.m. Okay, it says exactly what we had. New install request within 7 days. So now the sales team knows someone wants this. This is how to contact them. This is their preferred install date. So the sales team knows that. And it also even says automated this with n8n workflow, just so they know that that was an automated message that came from the form. So that's it. This was, a beginner tutorial on doing an n8n workflow for when a user, or rather a customer, fills out a form, setting a condition, and then based on that, sending a message to a Slack channel for the sales team. Okay, so hopefully you got all of that. A couple other things I'll just say real quick. Definitely make sure to save this. You can save as you go along or at the end, but it doesn't hurt to save as you go along. Also, you can run these tests just like you saw I did, one at a time. But if you want to run a bunch of tests, then you're going to want to click this button here. Right now it says inactive, and you'll click it so that it'll say active, and then it'll, the test will kind of run on its own. So anytime someone fills out a form, it's automatically going to execute these steps, and you won't have to click execute workflow or execute step. Okay, so hopefully that helped. I suggest you guys stay tuned in, because I'm definitely going to be doing more n8n tutorials, automation tutorials. I even have a video coming out soon where we're going to be talking about the differences between different automation tools, such as make.com, Zapier, and n8n, the costs, and when you would want to use each depending on what you're trying to do. So I hope that helped, guys, and I'll see all of you next time.